Greetings, everyone, and welcome to my podcast. This is still going through the formulations of what it's going to look like as far as the naming of how things go. I think I'm going to settle on Jacque's R.E.A.C.H, standing for Recreation, Environment, Art and Culture, Civic Engagement, Health and Nutrition. And you've probably seen that on my website, jacque-howard.com. But it's more than just that. It's more than just the branding and the naming and all those different things for me. This is a way of life. And it's important to me to exercise my access and availability to bring as much information as possible to the general public. Doing that through Bridge the Vote on the Facebook page, making sure that whoever wants to run for office in the city of Trenton, New Jersey knows that they have access to the general public, so that we can have conversations about what the political situation looks like. Also the Trenton 365 community calendar, so that people can post and share events about causes and things that are happening, so that they can get some shine, maybe a different audience or a new person that they haven't met before. That's how I feel we develop a better community for everyone. One of those people I'm going to bring it on now is Bouie. Now, I have been in Jean's company on multiple occasions. Jean has been on the show multiple times. And we've always have this passion for talking about education, the community, and the importance of our children. And when I say our children, that means all of us. All of us these are all of our children. We are all part of one body, the human body. And it behooves us to look at how we treat our children in relation to how we're going to treat ourselves and expect to be treated when we're older. Jean is serving on the board, and this is 2022. Jean is serving as a board member on the Trenton Board of Education, and he's also part of the operations committee. Jean, thanks for coming back on. I want to jump right in and make sure that you get a chance to review and share a disclaimer that I think is part of what we have to do here, okay? And you can go ahead and take it over.
Okay, so any comments that I make tonight are as a resident, taxpayer, homeowner in the city of Trenton, and not as a board member. Though the comments the information I will share, it's all public information, but I am close to it because of my role on the school board. So I don't make any comments on behalf of the school district, just as a concerned citizen.
Fantastic. Thank you for getting the legalities out of the way. With that being said, so Jean, let's start from a baseline. I am someone, I may not have any children that go to school in Trenton public school system for whatever reason, and I may not even own. I'm just a renter here. Why should I even care about what's going on at the Board of Education?
Okay, so I think you kind of inferred it earlier, Jacque, that we are one community. And though I might not have children in the school district, what happens to the children in the city should matter to me. I live here, right? Minister Farrakhan once said to us that, you're a father. But if you're not just a father in your house, you have to be you have to hold that same role outside of your home, because the world around your child affects your child. So you have to be concerned with those things. And so I would just say where the public school system goes, so does Trenton. Trenton will rise on the shoulders of the public school system. So that's kind of, I think that's a good place to start. You should be concerned because you're a resident and a citizen of Trenton. Be you a homeowner or a renter, it's important that our city thrives, right? Because you want to be part of something good. And the brand of the city directly affects you, right? Because you have your interactions with other people. And so it would be nice to know for people to say, oh man, Trenton is a great place to live. I want to live there. That kind of stuff, right? So.
Yeah, it did, absolutely. And we're going to come back and talk about the stigma, I'm sure, at a later time, because that has been something that has come up quite a bit lately in relation to politics in the city of Trenton and the image that is being portrayed by our elected officials, et cetera.
Mhm.
The school board.
Mhm.
I know right now, and I'm going to kind of work backwards and kind of jump all over the place for the sake of getting
Okay.
as much in. Currently, the city is exercising the thought of changing the way the school board is structured. Can you
Mhm.
explain the two traditional models that Trenton has
Okay.
had,
Okay.
including the current one that we have?
Okay. Currently we're a type 2 school district, which means it's an appointed board. Type 1 is an elected board. And so that's in a nutshell. That's the way we're structured now. So Trenton at one time was and had an elected board, and for whatever reason, the residents decided to move to an appointed board. And what that means is that the mayor of the city appoints board members. There is a process by which um, you apply, you submit your resume, someone recommends you to sit on the school board. The mayor has a process that vets those members, and then he appoints you. The mayor can only appoint. He can't fire you from the school board, right? So you technically can't be fired from the school board unless you do something unethical. And you brought up that ethics charges, and then that's the way you get off the school board, or you just, you resign, So those are the two, the structure.
Okay. Now, with the appointed board, I have heard people question who is in that circle to be appointed, and what are some of the what are some of the classifications, so to speak, to be part of the the pool.
Okay, so the first one is that you must be a resident of the city of Trenton. So you must live in Trenton to be appointed to the school board. The second thing is that you must pass a background check. So if you can't pass a background check, you can't sit on the school board. And subsequent to that, once you're appointed and you sit, you are required to attend annual courses relating to your service, right? Rules, regulations, responsibilities, and you have to attend those courses every year. And you have to pass a financial review. So you have to submit annual financials, so that that gets into the area of conflicts of interest, right? So you have to also pass that. So those are the few things that are required.
So just to make sure I've got a few of these correct. So to be appointed, to be considered to be appointed for the school board by the mayor in a type 2 type of board of education, you have to be a resident of the municipality, Trenton, have to submit to a background check. You're going to have to take required CEUs, continuing education courses with specifics on rules and regulations to your service, and also submit financial reviews, which I would assume is a financial statement, tax returns, et cetera, right?
Yeah, well, you don't have to submit your tax return, but you have to actually fill out a financial assessment, for lack of a better term, where you get your money from. That's how much you get. And do you have family members who actually are in the school district, those kind of things? And do you do business? Are you a part of any business that could do business with the school district, right? Because that could compromise your decision making.
And just general conflict of interest type of a statement that anyone would fill out if they were working for a company or corporation, right? Okay. All right. So the type number 1 is the elected model. And I know that some municipalities very close to Trenton have that type of a model. From your personal perspective, can you just share some thoughts about that model?
Yeah, because I haven't experienced it, I could only say that quite often when we do elections, it's based on popular vote. So the person who gets the most votes actually gets the position, right? But does that necessarily mean that the person is qualified to do that particular job? I mean, that's a question for me, right? Um, uh, does that mean that that person would be objective in how they're in their decision-making process, or will they be beholden to the party or um, those supporters that actually got them into office? So those are questions that come up to me. Now, you know, a person could be very ethical and they could run for office with all the right intentions, so that might not be the case. But and then one additional point of reference is that there's no evidence to me that an elected board drives better performance than an appointed board. And I guess that's, you know, that's been my point of reservation, right? Because if you look around, we have elected school boards. When you think of the urban school districts, we have elected school boards in many urban districts, but they're still categorized as low performing districts. You think about that, right? So what's the real differentiator? And so I'll leave it there for right now, but I hope I've answered that question.
No, you did. And you've actually given me some clarity, Gene. So I'm kind of hearing this like, okay, we have two different methods. Both of them have successes and not so successful. And the statistics aren't glaringly in favor of either one, which is why we have two.
Right.
So the next question then is, what is the reasoning behind wanting to switch, which could be, is it driven by popularity? Could it be driven by politics? All of those things, which I believe should not even be the focus of this, because we're talking about our children and education. So that's all of our kids. So we shouldn't be focusing on politics over that, in my opinion. All right. So now that I want to make sure I stay on track here. All right. So with Trenton being the lack of people coming out to vote, what do you know of the statistics that show how many people come out to vote for Board of elections? I'm just going to say my concern is that if we can't get people to come out and vote for mayor and council in large numbers, I don't know if them voting, I don't know what the numbers would be like for people coming out to voice their vote for elections for the board.
Yeah. So I think that there are about 40,000 eligible voters in the city. And I think in the last election, there was something like 9,000 or so people that voted. So that 25%. You know what I'm saying? So just to back up a little bit, right? It might not be that people genuinely don't care, but when hopelessness sinks in, right? If there's no expectation that things will change, then people stop participating. When people aren't informed, like an enlightened electorate would bring more people out. So people don't understand the consequences of the lack of participation because they've been failing. They failed, and mother failed, grandma, the systems have failed folks for generations. And so apathy sets in. And so we have to do a better job of giving people why it's important, right? You got to give them a reason to engage. And so I just think that, there's so much hopelessness. If you look, 30% of the folks in Trenton live at or below the poverty level. I think it's 28 change, right? Well, that's a whole lot of hopelessness, brother, right? And so I get it. But if folks aren't going to participate in choosing who governs them, then are they really going to participate in electing a school board member? If you think about it, right?
Yeah. I want to just voice this too. I get often asked, about, joining a team of a party or someone, and it's from both sides and even the ones in the middle. And I get it. But I'm not in it for that. I'm in it for what the rubber meeting the road, like the kids, so to speak. All right. Like if we're really talking about making sure that education is a priority, then let's make it a priority for everybody. And that really truly be the priority and the focus. And that would mean no child left behind. That would mean no child, whether you have special needs, whether English isn't your primary language, whether you come from a poverty-stricken background, you're the first one, whatever the circumstances are, we are going to design the parameters to make sure that these children succeed. We have ways to make it work. We know this. We have ways to make it work in spaces that include more children than the children that are here in Trenton.
Right.
So I think that we should think about this, the folks who aren't really paying attention to this, as the power that we have with this. We have the ability to do all these things. It's a matter of being willing to do it and to take and exercise our rights and our privileges with a focus on our children. I'll get into all this a little bit later on, because I do want to stay on track and make sure I get these last couple of points out. Can you please talk about the structure of the teachers' unions? And when I say that, how many are there? What are their relation to the board, et cetera?
Well, the union is about 1,100 members. They are employees of the school district. Of late, we've had a really good, thankful to this new superintendent. There's a great relationship, people collaborating effectively. My nearly 6 years on the board, I've met some incredible teachers who really care about the work that needs to be done. So, I think we're in a good place. But that's pretty much it. When you think about a board, so our responsibilities are to the students, their parents and guardians, and to all of the employees that work for the school district, right? And that's how we, when we negotiate employment contracts with the association. So our responsibility is to everybody ultimately that's part of the school district.
Okay, great, fantastic. See, I know that's going to be helpful to some folks. Okay, English as a second language for folks whose primary language isn't English, the students who are who are going to school. Can you just touch on that from the board's level? If there's a statement or anything like that you can share from your perspective?
Yeah. So if even with the progress that we've made over the years, there are two areas that I think we need to focus even more intensely on. The first one is what you're describing, is those children whose English is not their first language. And then the second is for those special education children. And so we have been aggressively, a few years back, we actually brought in consultants to actually analyze where the district was on those two tracks and make recommendations that would drive change in those two tracks. And in both instances prior to COVID, we were like making incremental strides, but this COVID thing has just taken us because children haven't been in school. They spent almost 2 years at home, right? So now we're in a position where we're having to jumpstart those efforts, because to your point earlier, Brother Jacque, all of the children are our children, be they black, brown, red, yellow, or white. They're all our children. And so the decisions that we make are for the whole of Trenton's children, right? And so those two tracks are a priority, at least in my mind's eye. And I could, I can't speak for my colleagues, but we've had significant conversations around driving that, right?
Good, excellent, excellent. All right, so there's a few more things I want to get through because you
Hey,
know how it is, man.
yeah, you got like 6 minutes based on your schedule, so get it in, brother.
That's right, man. I'm trying to get it in. Man, look, if people only knew what was going on in my head, man, look. All right, let me get to this.
Okay.
COVID and virtual learning, and I'm going to tie this all together.
Okay.
COVID and virtual learning and the need for us as building out our infrastructure for technology so that, you know, our children, if they are going to be virtual, can have the best access and the fastest or on par internet with some of their other, peers in the community, in the county.
Okay. So when COVID first hit, based on our strategic planning, we were like a year away from having one-to-one technology for all of the children in the district. That was brought about by some of the decisions that were made that allowed us to hold on to cash flow. And so for those folks who understand finances, we actually had cash flow that allowed us to invest in technology resources for the children. COVID actually sped that up so that not only did the district have funds to actually buy technology solutions, there were donations and grants that helped supplement that so that we're in a position where the children have technology issues. Working with Xfinity, AKA Comcast, they provided internet access for those children who didn't have internet at home. And we still have a ways to go. And last year, in a relationship with a donor that must remain anonymous, we actually did a technology audit. And the donor actually is giving the district over 3 years, $765,000 to completely overhaul the technology infrastructure of the school district.
Right, that's fantastic. You know, I'm sorry I want to interrupt you on that. That's huge. I mean, if we have been able to get through COVID, so to speak, with relationship with Xfinity that has access to our children, and now we've got known funding that's coming in from a unanimous donor that's going to level that up even more. I think that's a fantastic story for us to make sure that everyone knows that. Man, thanks, man.
It's a really big deal. And when you think that, you know, because even though when you think about budgeting, we've had money to sustain ourselves, money to invest. You know, I mentioned 2019, we were able to acquire the Times building, $20 million cash, carrying no debt, not asking the taxpayers, but that's because of strategic decisions made a couple of years prior based on the need to provide safe transportation for our special education students. The regulations require that if you're going to buy buses, if you're going to have a fleet of buses, then you have to tier the bus schedule. And so if you remember back then, the board caught hell because we moved the high school starting times to 7:30. Well, that moving that allowed us to get from under transportation vendors and to take that savings, parlay it into additional buses, into purchasing that building for our 9th graders. So right now in the city of Trenton, 9th through 12th grade, you're in a state-of-the-art school. You know, that's that kind of stuff. So those are the kind of, when you think about strategic thinkings, leveraging a decision multiple times so that, you know, you get greater benefit out of it, giving the biggest bang for the buck, so to speak, right? And those relationships actually allowed us a relationship with the Capital Area YMCA, introduced us to the donor, it parlayed that into $700,000 in investment in technology infrastructure. And so, you know, Jerry Harris used to tell us all the time, relationships precede the work. If you establish strong and collaborative relationships, they can be leveraged right now and down the road, you know, those kind of things. So those are just a couple of things that are I hope trying to, you got 1 minute, brother. I hope I,
Yeah, no, I do want to say a couple things here. I do want to say a couple things here. First of all, thank you for mentioning for sure the success of the bus service and also mentioning the Times building. For those who don't know, that's right on Perry Street. It is now the city of Trenton's. With the board owns that. It's a state-of-the-art school. I have some reservations about how the traffic calming measures and the way that infrastructure is set up there, but we'll talk about the Board of Education and their role with the Trenton 250 master plan and all those things at a later date. I also want you to come back and talk a bit more about the budget as well. What the budget consists of, accountability, oversight, all those different things, just so that we can put it out on the table and then people can know the facts instead of going ahead and going with hearsay or hearsay or not knowing what to say. Okay, Gene?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'd like to just say one thing in closing, Brother Jacque, is don't believe the hype. Do your own research. If you go to the board's website, you can find our most recent audit. You can find the existing budget, the current budget. You could find the budget presentation that was done at the school board meeting, and you can also find our 5-year strategic plan. So you don't have to guess. We've tried to become as transparent as possible. And if you go to the website, you can also read the bios on the current board members. You need to know the people that are serving your children and attend school board meetings. Make time. They're now on YouTube. You could stay in the comfort of your home and attend the school board meetings and become informed, because knowledge is power, and knowledge can empower. It's just how we use it. So.
Brother Gene, I appreciate you so much, man. Thank you for coming on and sharing the information. Brother. And thank you. God bless you as well. And I look forward to having more conversations because, again, we're doing this for a higher glory, a higher call.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you, brother. God bless you.
You as well.
Brother.
You're welcome. Take care now.
All right. Have a good night.
You as well. And there you have it, folks. Jacque's R.E.A.C.H, recreation, environment, art and culture, civic engagement, health, and nutrition. This conversation with Gene Bouie, who is one of the 2022 board members of the Board of Education in the city of Trenton, New Jersey, sharing some information, public information, so you don't have to guess and believe hearsay or hearsay. You can find out for yourself. Jacque Howard here reminding you it's always about justice, peace, and humility.